You're listening to the Bingo Hall Boys, a weekly podcast where we highlight and discuss the current independent professional wrestling scene. This week, we'll be discussing GCW's Chaotic Weekend, Wheeler Yuta, A Star is Born, Minoru Suzuki's first ROH TV title defense against Samoa Joe, and whatever else we get to. My name is Jake, and joining me is my co-host, Mitch. Mitch, how's it going?
Mixed bag today. I'm left with very mixed feelings after the end of that Joe Suzuki match, so I'm still a little bit recovering.
Yeah, so we're recording this right after Dynamite. Who can forget the debut of Satnam Singh? I was hoping to do a little bit of banter before we get into it, but how awkward was that debut? Like,
oh my God,
we've been preconditioned as fans. Like the lights go out and it's like, oh yeah, Gargano, Claudio. Like
I was running through my head all the former ROH names that could have come out. I was like, who's left? I was like, all right, we already know Castle's a Battle of the Belts. Well, it could be Claudio, but they said it's not going to be for a while. Matt Taven's with Impact. Why would it be him? And then this giant knob shows up, and like I knew they signed him. They signed him a year and a half ago, but
I didn't guess Satnam Singh.
No, I honestly I was settled for Brian Tully Blanchard Enterprises showing up.
Hey,
let's go.
Why not, man?
Why not?
Yeah, that really put a weird end on the match. So I guess without further ado, let's get into it. Samoa Joe defeats Minoru Suzuki for the Ring of Honor title. And I'm sure that the five of you listening to this are like, wait, you guys are an indie podcast. Why are you covering ROH? And it's because we fucking want to. It just felt good to cover ROH. And honestly, it gives us a chance to talk about stuff like this. What did you think of? So post-match shenanigans aside, which by the way, Tony Khan hyped us up like, guys, we got an overrun. Just wait until we get to the overrun. And he's got an announcement next week. So he's really setting himself up for success. So anyway, all that aside, we're here to talk about the match. Samoa Joe defeated Minoru Suzuki for the ROH Television Championship. What'd you think?
Loved the match itself, the early chop exchange. I bring this match up a lot because it always, like, anytime you get these moments, it reminds me of it. It was Kota Ibushi and Taichi and the G1 Climax, where it was a 15-minute match of nothing but kicks until the Kamigoye at the end. And this beginning sequence reminded me of it. And it's, it takes special talents to be able to captivate you with one move for like 5 minutes straight. And Suzuki and Joe are those dudes. And we've talked a lot about which Suzuki do we get, because I mean, he's the murder grandpa. He can't do it every single time, nor should he have to at that stage in his career. But man, he brought it tonight.
Yeah, we'll get to it because he has 3 matches on today's episode. While I was watching this match with Joe, I was like, he's literally having the same match over and over again. It's not necessarily low effort. I think it's just, it has more to do with like age and not just going out there and dying, but he is basically having the same match. So if you've seen his WrestleMania weekend, between then and now, he's had like 10 of the same matches in the last 2 weeks. And that's not necessarily bad. I think Joe definitely had the best Suzuki match that I've seen lately.
Absolutely.
What a perfect opponent for Joe. I was looking at some of like the online discourse, and some total mouth breather was like, oh, it's just an old random grandpa against the guy who gets injured in WWE. Go eat your glue. Stop watching wrestling. Like, how can you not be psyched for this match? And it delivered.
Absolutely,
that's the biggest part.
Did.
Let alone like the fact that, that was given the main event of an American TV show running against the NBA playoffs. It's just like, hey, we're going to give you Samoa Joe, Minoru Suzuki. Let's go. I loved it. Like I said, Minoru Suzuki's kind of reached that Pentagon Junior level where it's just kind of paint by numbers. It's like, okay, they're going to chop and then they go outside and then Minoru Suzuki is going to get them on the ground, do kind of an arm bar, twist the fingers back. But I love it.
Absolutely.
It's a recipe that works.
And I mean, I think that there's a larger discourse there too, where to some extent there's a lot of New Japan guys that operate like that.
Oh, for sure.
The way their touring schedule works, that there's
even Okada's doing that
absolutely
now,
right. Like
until he needs to break it out. Yeah.
It's not just Suzuki. That's very much a New Japan thing, where a lot of every New Japan match has the same formula to it for the most part a lot of the time. So but I like this formula and it worked great in this instance. So
Joe looked like an absolute monster.
Absolutely.
And if you look at, if you're just a casual fan, you buy into Suzuki as a threat just by them just chopping the hell out of each other to start the match. But if you follow the independents, if you follow New Japan, he's a dude. Minoru Suzuki is a badass. And I mean, even here, like in the show that we're about to do, he had 2 wins in GCW. He's probably their most protected person outside of Moxley. WrestleMania weekend, I think he won all of his matches, didn't he?
Dickinson
did beat him in the main.
That's right. Which, by the way, the one.
Dickinson getting signed by New Japan is a huge deal.
That is a huge deal. It's something he's been wanting for a long time.
Yep. So I don't know if he's going to be doing New Japan Strong or if they're actually going to ship him over.
I mean, he's already done New Japan Strong stuff. Right. So I think that means he's getting shipped over. So there's a lot of guys who have done New Japan Strong who don't say they're signed. So.
I cannot wait to talk New Japan on this show.
Absolutely.
It's going to be amazing. Well, we'll start next week.
They're flying people out for the G1. So it might be.
That's what I've heard, but they haven't said names.
No, they haven't said names, but.
Dude, and Best of Super Juniors too.
Osprey's new kid's gonna show up and.
Yep. But anyway, back to the match itself. This is exactly what I wanted from Joe. We kind of saw a little bit of it last week whenever he went up against Max Caster. We're not here to break down AEW, but we've got a really small sample size of what Samoa Joe is going to be bringing to Ring of Honor. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if he did some indies too.
Absolutely.
He's always been really friendly and going back and doing that. I cannot wait to see Joe's output because he's one of those guys. I think it's going to be like how Danielson was last year, where it's like out of nowhere, he kind of became like a wrestler of the year candidate. I think Samoa Joe could definitely start racking up some major wins, especially now that he's got he's got the television title for a show that doesn't have television. But anyway,
hey, there's a big announcement coming next week. That's probably what it is.
But yeah. I love this match and it makes me just so happy to see Joe back in Ring of Honor and not going straight after Gresham. I'm sure their paths will intertwine at some point. It's still kind of silly for Ring of Honor to have 3 singles titles. So we might do some consolidation there. I don't know. Just kind of talking to talk at this point. I love this match. Anything else you want to cover before we move on?
No, if I keep talking about it, I'm going to divert from the match and bury the ending segment again, which we already know sucked. So
I know, but that said, I am really looking forward to seeing Jay Lethal and Samoa Joe.
Oh, absolutely.
Down the road.
That's why it pisses me off more. I didn't need this to make me want to see Samoa Joe and Jay Lethal. I already want that match. I didn't need extra crap dangling around the sides of it.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get into it.
GC Dub.
Besides WrestleMania weekend, we have avoided talking GCW because I don't know if I'm speaking for you or just for me, but I'm not the biggest GCW guy. I think that I don't want to say overrated, but they're definitely overhyped. And I get why it delivers for some people, but for me, it's just not what I want out of my indie shows. And I've said it before, them running 2 shows in some shots, I get why that's awesome for some people, especially the talent, because they're getting 2 paydays. Never going to complain about that. But if you just consolidate and put out 1 awesome card and then turn around and do like a deathmatch show the second night or something like that, where I can just kind of be like, that's something else. I don't really need to worry about it. I might check in if there's something cool. Can't avoid it. We got to get into it. Let's start with GCW Paranoid and Joey Janela defeating Gringo Loco. I started a door count for this show, and this match took us to 2. I liked the match fine. It definitely felt like both guys left a ton on the table.
Absolutely.
I was really disappointed that both guys didn't just go all out and totally kill it.
So this is going to be a small aside, and then I'll jump back. But it was just perfect timing with the door count. Last night I was finishing up Final Battle 2017, and I wanted to watch one more match, and I just had it in my head for some reason. So I went to OTT Scrapper Mania, whatever it was, where it was the Young Bucks and Omega against the Uptown Funkers. So it's Will Ospreay, Ryan Small, Leo Rush.
Yeah.
And that it reminded me so much of like the super kick counter that they had in the crowd, like counting all the super kicks, and the door counter just made me think of that. But no, I agree. They both left something on the table. I think knowing that too, like I'm looking at Cage Match, that match went 17 minutes.
Yeah,
that was longer than it needed to be. This could have been a 9 or 10 minute match,
and especially since it felt like there was like spots that they could have done.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a weird match to talk about because I'm like, I look on paper, I think Janela is probably the best independent wrestler. He's fully independent now, right? I think the contract was up at the 1st of April.
That sounds right.
But anyway, I think he's probably like, it's not a weight joke when I say this, like it's not a pun. Pound for pound, he is one of my favorite wrestlers. He's a great talker. If I'm GCW, he is the face of my promotion. I build almost everything around him, which they kind of do.
They are, yeah.
And then Gringo Loco is just blowing up. We can't not do an episode and not talk about him on a big show. It was disappointing.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird to kind of, start the match with like a 2.5, maybe 3-star.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird lull to start the show for two big names in the promotion, but
is what it is. Then we went to the GCW Extreme Championship. AJ Gray is the champ, defeating Kevin Blackwood. Hard hitting. It felt like both guys were auditioning for a Suzuki match. Like they were hoping Suzuki's peeking through the curtain. He's like, I want to work with these guys. Blackwood's kind of at the point with me where he's not really showing me anything new. He's still developing. He's still growing. Still a fan of the guy. And AJ Gray is he's really good, but I think he's at his ceiling now. Awesome talker. I wish that he had more chances to do that in GCW. Like for the people who didn't see the promo that he cut after he beat Alex Shelley for the Internet Wrestling Championship or whatever they call it. Dude, like that's one of my favorite promos I've seen in such a long time. I want to see him kind of grow more. I mean, we talked about it in last week's episode. I think he probably should have beaten Moxley. Just give AJ Gray something really big to do and make him feel like a big deal. And surprising, no doors in the Extreme Championship match. No doors. The door count stays at 2.
This was, I mean, I don't want to say for sure. It might have been like the most traditional wrestling match of the entire show for the Extreme title.
For the Extreme Championship, yeah.
That's the extreme part. This is Alanis Morissette ironic. Nothing's actually ironic. This is the Extreme title where nothing's extreme. That's the extreme angle. There we go. I've solved the puzzle. But I did really enjoy the match. It was a great match, and I was actually quite happy to see no extreme bullcrap find its way in.
They had really good charisma.
Yeah.
So we move on to Chris Bay defeating Jack Cartwheel. Again, I feel like I'm damning this with faint praise, but like this felt like a PWG light match.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact there's a match that these two have in them that's better than this. I don't know if that's something that can come with time. Like I would love to see a rematch with these two down the road. Chris Bay still feels like he's growing. Jack Cartwheel is really, really good, but I don't have a grasp on what his ceiling is. But bonus points for the Vertebreaker for the win. Shout out to my boy Shane.
Yeah, I think Chris definitely is still developing. I think to some extent this may have been an environmental constraint too, where it went 11 minutes, so I'm guessing they were given like a 12 or 13 minute cap for the match. It's not,
which is enough time for these two guys to go out there and have a good match.
It's in a promotion where you're known for more hardcore stuff and things like that. It's not a PWG where you're expecting that match. And I think Jack's still got a lot of growing to do too. I'm super high on the guy, but he just hasn't quite it'll be a while until he figures out how to grow out of the cartwheel gimmick and into who Jack Cartwheel really is. And we don't know who that is yet. I am really excited to watch this match. I mean, I'll watch it 1,000 times over the next 3 years, but I'm most excited for 3 years down the road when they meet again and they're both a little further along, because then I think it can absolutely tear the house down for a half hour.
I think the thing that stood out to me was the amount of times Kevin Gill was bringing up the Bullet Club. And I'm like, I wish I could challenge him to name all of the members of the current Bullet Club to see how many people he could name.
It keeps changing too. They've changed it so much on Impact.
Okay, so let me try. So I know it's Chris Bay and Jay White and the Good Brothers, and that's it here in America, right?
Yeah, that would be.
And then
the America Bullet Club.
Overseas, it's my Phantom Boy Ishimori, and there was someone else with them too. Dude, this is hard. But my point is, I don't think Kevin Gill could get that far. But yeah, it was really cool to see Chris Bay. It's more and more that we see him on the independents and really make a name for himself and not just be a Bullet Club guy.
Yeah.
Because I've only seen a handful of his Impact stuff, and it just he feels like generic Swerve right now. And I know for a fact with time, he's going to grow and be so much better than he is now. So I'm not really going to hold that against him.
Yeah, I don't know how long he has on his Impact deal still, but I think it's probably at least a year. And I did remember the other American one we forgot, because it's weird that it's because he's the third gorilla, Hikuleo.
Yeah. What? So
the Good Brother, the Gorillas of Destiny are out, but Hikuleo's still there. I don't know.
Dark Sheik defeats B-Boy, Damian Drake, Jimmy Lloyd, Jordan Oliver, and Lucas Riley. This was fine. I'd really like to see Drake, Oliver, and Riley get more solo time to shine, but it's whatever. GCW does a multi-person match on just about every show, and this was
kind of one of their things.
Largely inoffensive. The offense felt kind of slow at times, but it wasn't anything crazy, but at the same time, it wasn't bad.
No, it wasn't bad at all. I mean, anytime you get into these crazy multi-person matches, there's going to be some clunkiness. There's going to be some standing around there. Yeah. It takes a really rare occasion for it to feel fluid and smooth the whole way through. I was excited for Dark Sheik to pick up the win. I quite like her. I think she's a talented wrestler, so I enjoyed that. I do want to see more to Drake and Riley, and I'm already a big fan of Jordan Oliver. I don't care for Jimmy Lloyd at all, but
yeah, that's going to disappoint a couple of our friends who are really into GCW.
Yeah, there's a couple that are all in the... Jimmy Lloyd kind of represents what I don't like about GCW.
I hated him at first. I can't remember which match it was. It was like a couple months ago in that like Atlantic City place that they run all the time. He had a decent match, and they were putting him over as like this awesome technician. It's like, I mean,
it was fine.
Get what you've got to do, but he is working on, on wrestling and doing different styles and different things. So I'm not going to totally write him off, but he does nothing for me right now. I see him as a deathmatch guy, whether he is or not. It's fine if that's your lot in life, is the deathmatch guy. I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up being the next Joey Janela and is like, the young prospect that becomes like one of the faces of GCW. There's a reason I called out Drake, Oliver, and Riley. So B-Boy is B-Boy, and I'm glad that he got a payday.
Yeah, that's about it.
GCW Tag Team Championships. Bussy. I'm going with that because the way that it was pronounced, Kevin Gill literally almost made me throw up with the amount of references he was making. This is where I took the headphones out for the rest of the show.
References. What can he be referencing? It's just the bus.
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, it's the movie. They drive really fast. We know this. Thank you.
So anyway, burying the lead, they defeat the Briscoes.
They do. Title change.
Probably the most unbelievable loss in the Briscoes' career. The door count moved up to 5. And Mitch, I want you to elaborate on why this was better than FTR Briscoes.
You know what I will say? It was good to see old Manser recover a bit from what they did to that poor bastard on Mania weekend. I did not bury that enough on our last episode for a million different reasons, but they have done old Manser real dirty. And
I didn't bury it because I was too busy going after Thatcher.
There was no believable way I like Alley Catch. I like Effie. There was no believable way for them to go over the Briscoes clean. There are zero believable ways to tell that story. This was the only way you could pull that off.
And it's so weird because I don't know why they would put the titles on the Briscoes just to turn around and take them off. But I'm not going to break down their booking because it's wild.
There is one idea there. We have not seen Matt Tremont since he didn't show up and the Briscoes took the title off Nick Gage. He hasn't been back yet. I don't know what's going on, but the Briscoes might have been an audible the night of because he didn't show up and they knew he wasn't going to be back for a bit.
Then why not put him on Manson Justice?
I don't know why. Why screw them over on Mania weekend? I'm just trying to explain why the Briscoes gave it up so quick, not why they didn't put it on Manser to begin with. I'm polishing a turd. Work with me here.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. This was weird.
It was weird, but I mean, I'm happy for Alley Catch and Effie. They both put a ton of work into this promotion, and that was a real feel-good moment for the crowd. So that was cool.
I just don't know what their future is as tag team champions. Like I said, they're not a really believable tag team because
I think
Effie's been gaining some traction. Right. Effie's been gaining some traction, but literally every big match that Allie has, she loses. And that's like the gimmick. And so it's like now that she has a title, it's like, so she's going to be eating the pin, right? Moving on, Chris Dickinson defeated Masha Slamovich. The only thing I can say is that the door count bumped to 6.
It was fine. I like Masha. I like Dickinson. It's relatively inoffensive. Did a door spot. It was a match.
I mean, I don't know. Okay, again, I'll get into it. The intergender thing. Chris Dickinson's a badass who he just beat Tomohiro Ishii. Why do I want to see him up against Masha? And she's really good too. She's a really good grappler. I get stylistically, it works, but it's just one of those things where I'm just like, Chris, my dude, just put this match away.
Yeah. Move on.
It was fine. Yeah. I didn't have anything wrong with it, but it was just like, I think it was after the tag team title match. I was just kind of like, all right, let's keep going. ACH defeated Nick Wayne. This was my best match on the show.
Easily. Easily.
ACH really set up Wayne for success here. He was selling for him left and right. It seemed like there was a point where Nick Wayne kind of got a little bit lost, and ACH just picked it right back up and went right into the next stretch. I mean, this is an ACH fan podcast, basically. Nick Wayne continues to lose, which is fine.
Yep.
And ACH gets a really good chance to shine.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add to it. It's, if you're watching one match on the show, that's the match to watch, and it's not close.
Which leads us to the main event, Minoru Suzuki defeating Blake Christian. Again, this was the average Suzuki match. Yeah. Blake did his best to fill the role of the valiant underdog pretty well. I don't know. This was largely forgettable. Like I said, it was fun. I really liked the match. I'm not trying to bury the lead here, but it's like I said, I have seen 10 Suzuki matches in the last 2 weeks, and they're kind of bleeding together. But the best part of this was Minoru's signing off promo where he was like, "Oh, I'll be back." And then he got down in Blake's face. It was like, "And fuck you." And walked out. It was great. What'd you think of the match?
Yeah, I think this is one of the more underwhelming Suzuki matches. I mean, it's kind of the same match over and over, and usually that's a good thing because I like the match, but this was kind of a mismatch, and as good as Blake Christian is and as much as I like him, I don't think he was quite there to be able to play that role in that match and make it anything special. So it was just kind of there. Forgettable is the word. There was nothing wrong with it. I wasn't unhappy watching the match, but I'm never going to think twice about it again. The match will leave my memory when we move on to the next show.
I'm going to be interested in seeing Blake years from now, whenever he's the veteran, because right now he's still the prospect.
Yeah.
And so I want to see him continue to build his repertoire, continue to get really good work. I mean, he's constantly all over the place doing shows. It just kind of felt like a bummer. He didn't really get too much shine in this match. It was just Suzuki really just throwing him around. There were a couple of valiant spots, like I said, but so yeah, overall the show itself was fine. It was watchable.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I wasn't like unhappy watching it, and there really wasn't much else going on.
I didn't have commentary on for the majority of it. Like I said, it was as much as I love some people, I absolutely hate Kevin Gill.
Oh my God. I could never hear Kevin Gill and Michael Cole would make up my nightmare commentary team. Like, if you want to torture me, put those two on commentary and just plug the headphones in and don't give me an option.
So I haven't listened to Michael Cole in like forever, but I can comfortably say if I had to trade them out, I would do it in a heartbeat. I would not think twice about it because at least Michael Cole's professional.
I legitimately can't decide which one I'd rather hear less. They both drive me so crazy for very different reasons that.
Yeah, but at least Cole knows what he's talking about, and he has like some like broadcast skill and he lets people talk. Anyway.
Well, he's got to listen to Vince yelling in his ear. He's got to shut up for a
minute.
Dude,
how crazy would that job be?
I love CM Punk's story where he just looks at him, how do I turn this thing off? Like, it just turns Vince off and does the whole fucking show. Like, that is the most endearing moment ever. Just how do I shut him up? Oh, I hit that button. Okay, bye, Vince.
Dude, I couldn't imagine.
Oh my God.
Speaking of crazy stuff happening, let's get into the next GCW show, Devil in a New Dress. This got a lot of online buzz and not in a good way. No. This was a pretty controversial show. So let's start with fans being upset that Jeff Jarrett didn't show up. From everything that I saw, GCW fans were really, really upset. I'm indifferent. Jeff Jarrett doesn't really move the needle for me, but
advertise him either. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know why.
If three guys that were booked that didn't show, and you're pissed about the one that wasn't booked.
So yeah, walk us through the people that didn't show up.
So the first announcement we got was that Biff Busick could not make it. That one was announced about a day before, whatever travel issues, whatever it was. Travel issues just seems to be the catch-all reason for everything. So who knows if that's actually what it was? Maybe he needs a little time to let the stitches in his head heal. Who knows?
Right.
But Biff gave them notice that I can't make it. So they replaced Biff with Jimmy Lloyd in the Masha Slamovich match because that's where Biff was booked. I have more rants about that later, but continuing on the path of who was booked and did not show. Jacob Fatu was supposed to be at the show. I don't even know when or if they announced he wasn't going to be there. I legitimately did not know he wasn't showing up until that match started and Jacob Fatu did not walk out.
I think they were hoping that people didn't notice.
Forget, yeah. I mean, I almost didn't notice, but to be fair, but so he did not show. And the other one, and this was kind of a door time surprise, Bandito was not there. And
that was the big one.
Along the lines of that, we get a message coming out from GCW saying Bandito is not here. He was not on his flight. He has not answered our texts or messages. Brett Lauderdale, head honcho of GCW, putting a little peace sign with $900 flight. You know, the talent kind of burying Bandito. Meanwhile, Bandito could be shot and killed for all we know at this point. We don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
We don't know why he's missed his flight. We have no information, and that definitely left a sour taste going into the show, seeing all those things start to pop up. But
how much do you think Bandito was going to get paid for this show?
Probably not very much.
If the flight was $900.
I mean, was the flight $900? Who knows? Wasn't it?
Oh, I thought you said it was.
No, that's what Brett Lauderdale said. I'm asking, was the flight $900? Did 100,000 people watch WrestleMania? It's pro wrestling. We round up.
I mean,
I don't know American flight prices. Is that believable? Like, I have no concept for if that's believable or not.
I don't know where Bandito's based out of. Is he still down in Mexico?
I mean, I don't know if he was in Mexico to catch that flight, though. I think he was still in the States.
I mean, maybe like $600 or $700.
Like I have no clue. Legitimately,
Yeah, I
I
would
don't
say
know
like
American
maybe like
flights.
$600 or $700, and then the
Okay,
rest was his payday
okay, fair
to
enough.
equal
That
the
would make
900.
sense. Yeah, that would make sense.
And I'm not familiar with their business model, but that seems
Yeah.
like a ton of money for one dude. Because I mean, we can get into the setup of the show. I love the way that the show looked. They did a really good job of just killing the lights, because I think that it would have looked pretty unimpressive if they just left the lights kind of on like they do for most of their shows.
Yeah, but no, the setup, A+ for that. I
Yeah,
dug the
I
setup,
loved it.
absolutely bought into the vibe, hook, line, and sinker.
Anyway, yeah, I would be really bummed if Bandito didn't show up, but it's super unprofessional to go online and start tearing down someone, because again, you don't know the circumstances.
No.
If they're not answering their phone, we don't know what that is. And Bandito came out and apologized, and it could just be something like he didn't make the flight.
Yeah, he
or
came out and
something like
said,
that.
"Hey, my fault, guys. Sorry. Like, hope to see you again soon," kind of thing. So who knows what it was, but yeah.
Yeah, but the higher ups did not do themselves any favors with big name talent moving forward.
No.
That was crazy to see. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into the show. The show started with Effie defeating Nick Wayne. The energy here was so weird to start the show. So I guess it was like an open challenge from Effie.
Yeah,
for
this was
Jeff
a
Jarrett to
scramble
show
match
up.
because Nick Wayne was supposed to be Bandito's opponent, right?
Yeah.
So this Effie had an open challenge where everyone thought it was going to be Jeff Jarrett. Nick Wayne was supposed to face Bandito, so they just threw the two together.
And Nick Wayne's like over in GCW.
Huge.
Like, he is the AEW future star. And the crowd doesn't hate him for it. They love him for it. And he got like barely a reaction. The crowd wasn't really into it. And then Effie brought up the really weird dynamic of the match where he's like a hypersexual wrestler and he's going up against a minor. And I was like, yeah, now that you say that.
And like a minor in the gender that you're interested in.
Yeah.
Like, Effie against Billy Starks, like, Effie's not into chicks. You can get away with that one a little bit more.
You just don't say that. Just don't say it.
A little bit of a creepy feeling, yeah.
Don't say it. And I'm not saying that Effie's that guy, but
Effie,
don't say it.
Inevitably listen to this. I don't believe that about you for 1 second. Effie, you're awesome, but what the?
Because it's like, I didn't. Well, I might walk back the awesome a little bit. I'll pull it into. But just don't say that.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't thinking that at all.
Nobody went there.
Yeah.
This is one of the themes. Nobody. Absolutely nobody.
I don't know. So that really put the show off to a bad note for me. And I'm probably just gonna bury the rest of the show. But it's like, dude, it started on that note, and I was like, this is kind of hard. And I didn't need to start the show off with a door. I swear, GCW makes me feel like I'm Jim Cornette. I'm just complaining about stuff that the kids are doing, and I'm just a grumpy old
Jim
dude
Cornette
who likes
just
what I
put
like.
over a Bucks match. You can do it.
Oh my god,
can do it. He put over a Bucks match. You can do this. And
the match itself was fine, and obviously they had to do it on the fly, so it was a little bit awkward.
Yeah.
But they both know what they're doing.
Yep.
Effie was definitely in control for most of this, but dude, that ending was so brutal. Effie botched on the Spanish Fly and slipped on the rope. Like, I think it was, if I'm remembering this right, Wayne was jumping off the turnbuckle and Effie was going to jump off the rope, and Effie just slipped and almost missed the door entirely and hit the chair instead. And it just looked really, really, really bad. And then Effie popped up and beat Wayne like immediately. And it was like, it didn't really do a ton for me. I would actually like to see these guys, actually get some time to like figure out what a match would look like and do a rematch down the road. I am totally open to that because, like I said, these weren't great circumstances. And Effie didn't do himself any favors with the promo before the match. So I'm willing to give them another shot. And Effie's program with Double J gets drawn out further. It is what it is.
Moving on, we get Jordan Oliver over Mr. Cartwheel himself.
What'd you think?
I like both these guys. It was definitely the match of the night for me. I don't even have to think about that one, but
really,
no, second match. I forgot what our main event was tonight.
I was gonna say, I was like,
no, I was looking at
it was
it cut off a Dark Sheik and Joey Janela, and I totally forgot about the main event. So
but this was a really good match.
It was a great match. Yeah,
I was kind of hoping that you would make a pitch, and I would be like, okay.
Yeah, I can't put it over Suzuki Bailey. I forgot that match was on this card, but I mean, no, again, I like both these guys. I think I'm still figuring out exactly who Jack Cartwheel is. Jordan Oliver had some fun spots in here, and this makes me really want to see Jordan Oliver in more places because I don't really see him outside of GCW right now.
And he does mostly multi-person matches.
And that bugs me. I mean, for as much as I bury Court Bauer quite frequently, I really liked Injustice and MLW, and I liked what Jordan Oliver was doing there, and I want to see him in more places. So I love the match, and I just want to see more out of him. Like,
I don't have a feel on Oliver. Like, if I were going to go the sports route and give him like a letter grade as a prospect, I would be totally lost.
Yeah, fair.
I think I like him a lot. This match definitely did him some favors. It was solid and fast paced. Honestly, I probably would have opened the show with this.
Yeah.
But yeah, both guys look great. Oliver, dude, he got the win with like this like bouncing rope assisted orange crush.
Oh my God.
That was the spot of the show.
That was
without
so
a doubt.
Freaking cool.
Yeah, that's probably one of the coolest things I've seen.
I popped hard for that.
I really enjoyed it, especially because it felt like it came out of nowhere, and it like and everything landed perfectly. Because I could see that going very bad.
Oh yeah,
very bad. But yeah, again, like Jack Cartwheel's one of those guys where I think, once the PWG Blu-rays start making the rounds, people are gonna be like, oh, Jack Cartwheel, huh?
Yeah.
So good for him for good for GCW for giving him 2 shows to really show what he's got. Alley Catch defeated Kid Bandit.
You know what? I enjoyed it. I mean, neither like Kid Bandit's not a finished product. They're very, very new. I'm going to stick with they. I tried to look at Instagram and Twitter. One said they, them. The other said he/she/they, as in like, I don't give a crap what pronoun you use. So I'm just going to use
Bandit.
Yeah. It's the kid. It's the kid. But no, I like the match. I think there's a lot of growing to do. So it's definitely like a prospect match where I wasn't expecting Jordan Oliver and Jack Cartwheel or Suzuki and Bailey. But for what I expected, I felt it delivered. And it's one where, 5-6 years down the road, I'm interested to see what Kid Bandit becomes. And it was another reminder that I want to see Alley Catch graduate to some bigger stages.
I don't know if she's ready for bigger stages. I want to see her do something else, but I think she still has a way to go. And hopefully this tag team run does something really good. And I hope that she keeps trying. But I mean, from what I can gather, she's just going to be one of the faces of GCW.
It seems like that's going to be the case ad nauseum. And I'm not saying I want to put her on Dynamite tomorrow, but I'd like to see her show up a little more on Dark and Elevation, do a couple Ring of Honor matches on whatever the format looks like just small opportunities to start growing and see, slowly break it in.
I would hesitate on that until we start talking about her the way that we talk about like Rachel Ellering, where it's just like, dude, who was really good on this show? Rachel Ellering was really, really good. I think once I get to the point, if Alley Catch gets there, and I don't know, it makes me wonder how overhyped she is to how good she is. And this match was a really hard way to tell, because I think her floor and her ceiling are they're pretty close, but at the same time, it's like one's decent and one's like really bad.
And Kid Bandit's still pretty new too.
But she's not in a spot where she could be like Effie working with Nick Wayne. It was just like, okay, Effie, I would trust him to, not that Nick Wayne's like hella green or anything and like needs to be walked through something, but I don't think I would trust Allie with younger women.
No, that's what I mean.
Just go out there and do it.
yeah, this match was not one to showcase her in that way. Because yeah, she's not ready for that role.
But anyway, Masha Slamovich defeated Jimmy Lloyd, and I still have nothing to say.
The only thing I can say is I'm happy with the outcome because I really like Masha and I really don't like Jimmy. So that there was a small amount of, the counter argument. People say, "Oh, go away, Heat's not real." You really just want to see them get beat. This match was kind of the counter argument because I just wanted to see, like, I don't like Jimmy Lloyd. I don't like watching him. So this was a small counter argument where you're like, you know what? There is a element of that go away Heat where I really just want you to get the tar beat out of you. So there was a small amount of that, but that's about all I have to say. I wish I had Biff Busick in this match.
It's so nice to like talk to you and have the shoe on the other feet where it's like I'm like indifferent to someone. You're like, I hate that person. Like, this is what that feels like.
There are some people that haven't. Most people, the 5 people that listen to this don't know me that well yet. I don't bury a lot of people. I
know. That's why it's so surprising.
Very forgiving with a lot of wrestlers. So when I go off on someone like that's, this is not even just to wrestling. I was working at a summer job when I was like 20 years old. There was this one girl that we worked with a couple years younger than me, and the boss really wanted to fire her. She was honestly just kind of useless at everything and not really a good person. The line my manager used to get her fired was, "Even Mitch doesn't like her." And that was the selling point. Legitimately, my manager said, "Even Mitch can't get along with her," and he said, "That's good enough for me. Get rid of her." Like, that was the selling point, was even Mitch couldn't get along with her. She's got to go. So
I get it.
Jimmy Lloyd, you're on notice.
Anyway.
Speaking of energy elsewhere, we get a West Coast Pro match making a guest appearance on this show. It was amazing how we planned that segue.
Tits Alexander defeated Midas Creed. If there's one thing that happens, like if this show ever gets past, 5 viewers, I want Tits Alexander to catch on.
Absolutely.
You're like, why are people calling him?
I hope when we all eventually meet up for whatever AEW show, I hope Tits gets a Dark appearance.
He's on the Dark.
We get the, because Dark is quiet. Nobody's making noise. We can get Tits over in a hurry.
Here's the pitch. Okay. So when we're all in Chicago, we need a Dark match where Tits Alexander comes out and faces the Titty Master, John Moxley. It's right there.
I mean, it's the Titty Master. Could also go, if you don't want to put Moxley on Dark, you can go tightest tits in the game and put Ethan Page on there too.
They could do like the whole mirror spot where they're like, whoa, hey, we're the same person. This was fine. I liked Midas Creed.
Yep.
I feel like every time we talk about Titus Alexander, it's just like the creator wrestler. Like he's like, to me, he's at that level that we've talked about before with he's the replacement guy where it's just like he's not going to blow you away.
It's the Mike Bennett. That's who I was trying to think of. Yeah, it's just like, and which, nothing wrong with that. No, not a bad thing at all. You can
have a good career doing that.
You need Mike Bennett's in this industry.
And I think that's where he's at. Yeah. Some people online were throwing like he's the next MJF, and I'm like, I don't see that.
I do see more potential where he's at right now. He'd have to show me a hell of a lot more for me to be going MJF level, but
MJF can go.
I do see opportunity for growth still with tits, and I'm still bought into watching where it grows. So
you can't do that while I'm drinking, man. He's like an A cup right now, and who knows?
That's just it. Like we tits need some implants, and then we can go.
Not that kind of show.
I mean,
it was
what Goldust never got the pitch to work. Maybe tits will be the one. I don't know.
Vince sees him and he's like, "Oh, this guy needs a gimp gimmick."
Good shit.
Anyway, the match was fine. Nothing memorable. Midas Creed was fine.
Yeah.
Titus Alexander made was that his debut in GCW?
I guess so. Yeah, I think it was. There was definitely some West Coast fans in the crowd. There was a West Coast chant going. So
yeah, which is bizarre.
Yeah.
Anyway, next match, we got some more West Coast guys. AJ Gray, Mance Warner, and Matthew Justice defeated Journey Fatu, Juicy Finau, and D Rogue. And all I can say is that AJ, Manser, and Justice were good.
Yeah, that's literally all I have. I don't even really want to talk about the match for the most part. Like I like Manser, I like Matthew, AJ Gray's awesome. That's where it quits.
The weird thing is, I don't know if this match would be better if Jacob had like been there.
I don't even know if it's different. I don't know.
So it's just like
one difference.
I don't know. We've made our feelings on Juicy for now pretty. And honestly, I'd never seen Journey before, and D Rogue was just like a dude.
He was literally there. He was a pylon. He was a wrestling buddy. Like,
I mean, it was a walk-in brawl, a little bit of plunder, and it was a way to get the second gear crew pop and make the fans feel good. I get it.
Yeah.
But this one didn't do much for me. The next match, Dark Sheik defeated Joey Janela. It seems like they're gonna do something with Sheik, I would assume. I don't know what her ceiling is in GCW as a singles wrestler, but again, that's not for me to figure out. I don't know if this was just because they were on the West Coast and they were doing this. Like I've said before, I prefer Dark Sheik in a tag team more than a singles. Your High Honor, I'm pretty indifferent. I don't see it. And her getting the win over Joey was a big deal.
That was a very big deal.
The finish was super dull for me. Like it ended with a thud, but the hometown crowd liked it. And I don't know if, I mean, we're not going to get Dark Sheik versus Mox or anything like that.
No.
But I could see her working AJ Gray.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know, that's 2 big wins that weekend. So I don't know what they're setting her up for. If anything, it might just be a way to get the crowd happy.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that is the setup. She gets her big crowd happy push to get her ass kicked by Mox. I don't know.
That's a weird match.
Of course, it's a weird match. They're all weird matches. Nick Wayne.
I'm glad you were the one to say it.
Like, it's a weird match, but it might, like, if I'm looking at traditional booking, that's the setup, right? Someone wins their scramble, someone goes over one of the big names in the company, someone's working their way to a title shot. That's the basic story. Like,
has Sheik had a match with Masha yet?
Not that I know of, but I mean, again, like GCW runs so often. I don't like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And they also don't book women's wrestling.
No, they don't. Like, it's not a women's division. It would just happen to be those two were fighting. Like, I don't think they've had a match. I think Masha's still pretty.
Well, I should say they don't book women's matches outside of whatever Allie's doing with celebrities lately. Okay, so yeah, let's get to that main event. Probably my favorite match on the show. Like I said earlier, I don't think that's really controversial. It was Minoru Suzuki defeating Mike Bailey, and damn, did this need to deliver to save this show. I watched this in the morning, and so maybe that's my problem. Maybe watching GCW like sober and first thing in the morning is what's like kills the fun for me. It just kind of feels like a grog to get through, but this came through.
Yeah.
Veda Scott was there on commentary because it's Mike Bailey in the match. She was good, and it just further illustrated how terrible Kevin Gill is. Suzuki staring down the ref got awkward. I wasn't really expecting sexist Suzuki, but the majority of the match was Bailey selling, but as the match went on, it became a little bit more even. Both guys were great. It was, again, that Suzuki formula, a lot of chops, a lot of outside, killing time. And then, armbar on the ground, twist the fingers back. But the hope spots for Bailey were really good. I was even convinced that Bailey was going to win at one point. So they got me. Really good match. I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch.
I think the only thing I can really add to that is I think this showcased, and this is not a knock on Blake Christian, I'm really high on the guy, but this showcased the value of having somebody with the experience level of Mike Bailey compared to Christian working this match.
Right.
Because Mike was able to make the Suzuki match work a lot more believably than Christian was. So,
well, and it also helps that Bailey is like our wrestler of the year so far. I mean, I would have been flabbergasted if they didn't have a good match. But yeah, it was a good way to end the show and send everyone home happy. So I'm glad we got there. But yeah, they protect Suzuki like crazy. So I can see why he keeps coming back and working main events for him. And Bailey, again, like we're running out of things to say about Speedball. The dude's awesome. I'm really happy that, you know, he's back, and it's weekly. We get at least a match that it feels like it's like at worst 3.5 stars.
Yeah, his floor is better than a lot of wrestlers' ceilings. So
yeah, I mean, like even Mania weekend, he had a couple matches that were like fine, and those, like I said, it was 3.5. It was still fine. He's making a name for himself. Impacted, you know, they need to realize how lucky they are to have him. Speaking of someone else we're really high on, dude, if we had stock in wrestlers, would Wheeler Yuta be our Tesla stock right now?
Oh, absolutely.
We're an independent wrestling podcast. We started with AEW and we're ending with AEW under the guise that it's Ring of Honor, whatever. It's still fun. So on Rampage, Jon Moxley defeated the Ring of Honor Pure Champion Wheeler Yuta. We've been super high on Wheeler for a while now, and I feel like it's time for us to continue to take the victory lap. Like, we're going to get winded in a minute from how hard we've been running. Mox beat the hell out of our Utes. Wheeler got busted open early and was pouring blood for most of the match.
That was Dustin Rhodes Double or Nothing level juice. Like, he was gushing.
Yep. The Boston crowd did him a huge favor here. He's basically a local guy up in the Northeast. He is like the independent wrestler. We talked about a little bit ago whenever we covered Beyond Wrestling. He is like the dude there. They kept that vibe going strong. Mox is one of the top draws in AEW. So to have the crowd pulling so hard for our Utes, it was a testament to just not how hard he was working, but how endearing he can be. Like, he's a baby face for sure. So I'm excited to see him do the bad boy leather jacket routine.
I mean, let's be real. This is a baby face faction. Dress it up however you want. It's a baby face faction.
Because it's a promotion built for wrestlers. I mean, and let alone the fact that he's the Ring of Honor Pure Champion. It's just like, this is what I want. I want to have a champion in Ring of Honor who goes out there and feels like a badass and won't quit. I'm really sick of Jonathan Gresham. I think it was all the Terminus stuff that really I was just kind of like, yeah, you're, I don't know. You're Jonathan Gresham. I've seen what you can do. So to have Samoa Joe and Wheeler Yuta as singles champions in Ring of Honor, dude, it pumps the blood in my heart so much faster looking at these cards as opposed to just being like, oh, it's Gresham and Dalton Castle. I don't know about you. I don't know if this is going to sound really stupid, but I literally got chills when he kicked out of the first paradigm shift and the crowd went absolutely crazy. I think him kicking out of 2 finishers from Mox was a little bit much, but I did like the overall flow and how the match ended right after that. I went 4 flat on this.
Yeah, I've said this before in our little corner. I think that this is, if I had to fault one thing, this has been an ongoing story with Mox. They've been telling it for a while in various promotions. There's 2 different versions of the paradigm shift. There's just the straight up like Jake style double arm DDT, and there's the one where he elevates you. It's been established that you can kick out of the non-elevated one. Right. Wheeler's not the first person that's kicked out of the non-elevated one. It's happened probably a good half a dozen times now. He is the first person I can recall kicking out of the elevated one. There might be one other, but maybe Omega. Actually, probably Omega. But
it reminds me of why am I blanking? It's Naito's finishing move.
Destino?
Yeah, the Destino, where he'll do like the standing one.
Exactly.
And like he doesn't beat anyone with it.
Exactly.
But then he hits the running one and it's like, oh, he's done.
Exactly. And that's kind of how the paradigm shift works. Like he'll beat the jobbers with the non-elevated version quite comfortably. And for a while they were interchangeable. But yeah, I don't necessarily like using both of them in a row there because the elevated one is supposed to be so much more severe. I mean, it looks brutal. It does. And that's why that took a small amount away. It was like he just gave him the other one that would have finished him off. That was my one
But-
small, but it did Yuta a ton of favors. Like,
But I mean, after he kicked out of the second one, Mox just immediately put him in the bulldog
Mhm.
choke and was like, "Nope, you're done,"
Yeah.
and it was over. And
absolutely.
so if it kept going, I think that probably
Yeah.
would have lost the crowd a little bit, just because it was like, okay, we at some point we have to end this.
Absolutely. And if he kicks
But-
out of that, you have to have Yuta win if it doesn't end right away. Like,
Which you
From-
can't
from-
do that.
no,
You can't have
Moxley
Yuta
had to win
match.
that match, and Moxley had to win immediately after that second paradigm shift failed. Like that had to be what they did when he kicked out of the second. That was the decision.
What do you think of the discourse that's going around online where people are saying that Utes is like a star now?
I think Utes has been a low-level star for a few weeks now.
I think he's an indie star.
Absolutely. I think he is. Utes and Garcia came at around the same time,
Mhm.
and people bought into Garcia a lot earlier. I think this bumped Utes up to Garcia status where now we can really see those two main eventing 6-7 years down the road. Like,
Dude, this is like the second generation of like AEW.
yeah, that's what I mean.
young
Like,
dudes
and
who
I
are
mean,
being established.
you and
which
I
is
could have
nuts.
called Utes and Garcia, like we've been calling that from the
Oh,
get.
for sure,
Like,
sure.
absolutely. But for the general public who wasn't in on the Yuta train, I think this finally brought Yuta up to Garcia status where it's like, okay, yeah, that's a future main event.
Like, I know he was on our show last week, but we've been dragging our producer Tyler kicking and screaming. I'm like, trust me,
Yuta can go.
he's really good.
Yeah.
Like, anyway, so I'm glad to get him away from the best friends.
Yeah, I love the best friends, but that was not the place for him to succeed.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the ceiling there is like,
Yeah.
it's pretty
We already
finite.
saw what it was for him.
So yeah, leather jacket wearing Yuta.
Oh, you did the BCC in blood after. Oh,
Yep. So post match,
caught me.
Yuta is officially accepted into the
Yep.
Blackpool Combat Club. I want to call it the Blackpool Fight Club.
I know.
It just
right?
sounds BFC sounds so much cooler than BCC. but
Except we
whatever.
can't use BFC because we already have BKFC where Van Zant fights, and that just gets too damn close.
Nah.
Because she's still fighting there. She fights there in July.
You might be the only person that has that problem.
I might be the. You know what? I kind of enjoy I like violence. You give me violence in any form, and I'm hooked. Like, I like watch people beat the crap out of each other. It doesn't matter what vehicle it shows up in.
But yeah, I'm really excited for where the stable's gonna go because
Yeah.
as weird as the Moxley Danielson tag team can be, could you imagine the ROH shows where Yuta and Danielson are tagging together? That sounds so much more fun.
It sounds amazing.
Can
Can I get a Yuta gear change with this?
It has to happen.
It has to.
I mean, I've
happen.
been calling for Mox to change his gear. I'm really sick of the camo pants. Like,
No, I think both of them need a gear change. Like, Mox needs the
Yuta starts
Bloodsport
wearing
yeah.
the cargo camo pants.
I don't know what
I'm
the
edgy
answer
now.
is for Yuta, but like there needs to be a gear change because it ain't gonna work.
Does he go late 90s school shooter vibes and he's got the long leather jacket on? Like sunglasses.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I think the gear change would be really good. Especially, I think it was it on TV that Chuck Taylor was like, "Dude, I bought you that gear." Like, so I think for him to just officially move on to something else would be really good. But yeah, dude, it seems like AEW is building towards like this combat club versus the Jericho squad. Like, dude, I can't wait for it. But as far as we're concerned, I want to see these guys show up in Ring of Honor. Obviously, Moxley in Ring of Honor would be weird because he doesn't really have an affiliation.
Yeah.
He feels like he's too big for it.
Yeah.
At this point, but dude, I cannot. Danielson has to come back to Ring of
Oh,
Honor.
absolutely.
And him being in the ring with Yuta would just totally put him over. So yeah, like I said, I'm just excited to have two people holding singles titles in Ring of Honor. They're just total badasses. It's going to make the product
I'm super excited for what's to come with Ring of Honor because it's going to get some type of a deal, right? Like either a shitty TV deal or some type of streaming deal. But regardless, it's not going to have the same amount of network pressure that AEW has. So there's a little more freedom to run some for the hardcores matches, like for the hardcore fans matches that you can't necessarily do on TBS or TNT. And with guys like Yuta and Danielson, that's super exciting.
It's kind of hard to forecast because I don't know how closely you've paid attention to the Discovery Time Warner merger. It's out there, dude. Like no one really knows what Discovery is going to do besides just like fire a bunch of people. And
I mean,
kind
that
of start
tends to
from
be
scratch.
what happens, right?
Right. Anytime you do like a large corporate merger here in America, it's rinse and repeat as far as that stuff goes. But if I were to take a guess, you and I have always been really nerdy as far as like ratings go and like the numbers and like what it financially means. Like we eat that crap up. So Dynamite, specifically Rampage, are really strong performers in their time slots for Warner. So unless like the person who runs Discovery is like, ew, they're bleeding too much. We don't want any more. I would assume that they would just take all that they can get at this point.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that the biggest sell there, if we look at like, they took what's one of Warner Media's other huge shows right now, Euphoria.
Impractical Jokers. Oh.
If you can handle Practical Jokers. If you can handle Euphoria, you can handle the blood on AEW. And they're not getting rid of
but Euphoria is also not on TBS at 7:00 on Wednesdays.
But I'm not super worried about it.
No, but I get what
it's so cost effective too. Like I said this in our thing. I think hockey is the one that's going to be the most vulnerable to this Discovery takeover because hockey is a very expensive IP in America for not a lot of return. Like up here in the Great White North, it's huge, right? Hockey is like, it's our jam. We are the audience for those like, those American targets. Like,
well, there's some major cities here in the States that are really into it. Even in my neck of the woods, you know, people become hockey perverts whenever the team is doing good.
Yeah. Well, you're kind of Missouri, right? Ish.
I don't have my location settings on right now. I don't want the 6 people knowing exactly where, but yeah, like the
St. Louis Blues,
but I get what you're saying.
Crazy far away team for you, right? They're close-ish. They're one of the neighboring
and Chicago,
in your vicinity.
Yeah, and like whenever the Blackhawks were like a dynasty.
Where I was going with this was the St. Louis Blues almost ended up in my city back in the 80s. My small city that had like a 200K population at the time. There was a huge drive, and the St. Louis Blues almost made it to Saskatoon. There's actually a street near our hockey arena named after the guy who almost made it happen. Bill Hunter Avenue, like back in the 80s.
Good to know.
I'm not trying to dox Jake here.
No, you're good. You just doxed both of us.
But I did just dox both of us. But St. Louis Blues almost made it here.
But yeah, but what you're saying is though, they just signed a big deal, both Tony Khan and the NHL. And I don't think either one's at risk of being canceled because that's big money on the table. Worst case, they don't get renewed. And in which case, I think AEW has really good leverage. Like they've performed really well year over year.
They have one of the youngest skewing audience,
which is crazy.
They're so young skewing. That can't be overstated how young skewing their audience is compared to most industries. Like if you look at those, like people whine all the time. Oh, quit talking about the demo. It's what matters.
I mean, it's what's making the money.
It's what makes money. That's what they're selling to. And they're so young skewing that like maybe the growth potential over 50 isn't huge, but that's not making you a dime.
I mean, it's still profitable, but it's not like the big advertisers are
absolutely
in the demo.
Yeah.
Don't want to write off 50 plus altogether because total numbers do matter to some extent.
50 plus, I get it. But
overall point, we'll get this back to Ring of Honor in a second because this is a chunk of the pie. If I'm Fox, I would bail off of SmackDown and pick and try to go after AEW for a fraction of the.
Absolutely.
I mean, if I offered half,
that's just it.
And then I get my market and being like, yeah, you know that stuff. This is better.
Yeah.
And put it on primetime Fox. It would do far better.
Absolutely.
But
the cost effectiveness, like this last year's 4 years for 175 million. You can buy that for another 4 years at 400 million compared to $1 billion for SmackDown.
Yep.
Like I know we're both pretty anti-Connecticut, but that's not an anti-Connecticut thing. That's just numbers.
That's just
Like,
competitive marketplace.
Exactly.
I'm really interested to see how the chips fall because I don't think it's going to be as drastic as people are thinking.
No.
If I were to make a guess on where Ring of Honor falls, I'm going to say it's going to take. Now, this could all be gone. This could be Tony Khan's major announcement, and freaking Honor Club is going to have everything next week. I'm going to say the library is going to take at least a year.
Yeah.
To convert and edit out a bunch of stuff that you don't want strikes on.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to take some time, and in the meantime, I could see Ring of Honor airing on one of the sister networks like True TV, TBS on like Saturday mornings. Like it would be very, very foolish of Discovery to just be like, do we really want to be the wrestling place? Because I mean, they're in the live sports business. The basketball playoffs are going really well right now. Well, sorry, the basketball playoffs are starting right now. And then you've got hockey, which, I don't know how long that deal was.
I can't remember.
Yeah. But anyway, my point is, I think Ring of Honor is going to do really well. And I think that they will eventually be streaming somewhere.
Yeah.
It would be stupid to not scoop up the library. And whenever we talk about streaming, even if that's not HBO Max or Discovery Plus, whatever they end up rolling into, Netflix is a player. Disney is a player with Hulu. Amazon could be a player. Like these are big companies with a lot of fans that would like. How many people have Peacock for $5 just to watch old wrestling?
Yeah.
Like, or just current wrestling. I don't know. Probably not listening to this, but yeah, I'm really optimistic for Ring of Honor in a way that I wasn't before. Now that there are two awesome singles champions, so that's the final stamp I'll put on that. Yeah, I'm really hyped on ROH right now. What's your match of the week?
I mean, I guess it's Mox Yuta. That's over a week ago now, but it's still within our coverage. So
yeah, I mean, we covered it on the show. Yeah, it counts.
I got to me. It feels like a cop-out to say that one, but
nah. Yeah, I think I'm going to go that way too. As much as I really liked Joe Suzuki, I think I'm just burnt out on Suzuki. I just can't wait to see Joe do more. It feels so good to be talking about Ring of Honor and mention Samoa Joe, and it's not like a pipe dream. Where I'm just like, wouldn't it be cool?
Like Joe and Danielson. Like, no.
I can't wait, dude. It's going to be rad. What do we have coming up this week? The New Japan show was really, really big. You want to run down that card real quick? We'll preview that for a second before we scoot.
Absolutely. So New Japan, it's the Windy City Riot taking place in Illinois. I assume close to Chicago, but I don't know my Illinois geography that well.
Not making the drive for this one. I was like really tempted, but it's like I'm going out of town next week for business, and I just couldn't swing it. So I'll be watching with you guys.
So we do have the full card up. Opens up, assuming
go for it.
In order with a 6-man tag. The Young Lions, essentially Connors, Fredericks, and Yuya Yamura against the Factory, Solo, Komoroto, and QT Marshall making their New Japan Strong debuts.
Let's go. Absolutely. Not for the Factory, but for the Young.
The Young Lions. Hell yeah. Following up, there's a couple more Young Lions in this one. We have a 10-man tag match. Alex Coughlin, Fred Rosser, Josh Alexander, Red Narita, and Dirty Daddy Chris Dickinson against Team Filthy, which is currently Nelson and Isaacs, JR Kratos, Danny Limelight, and Black Tiger.
Got that Wrecking Crew represent.
Yes, we have a non-title match of Blue Justice Yuji Nagata against Tom Lawler.
Oh, dude.
I'm not sure what title is not being defended there because I haven't been following. Oh, I guess Tom Lawler has the New Japan Strong title, whatever it is. Yeah.
He won the cup.
Yeah. Then there is a giant 12-man tag team match. Bullet Club, so mostly the American version. So Bay, Good Brothers, El Fantasma is going to be in America for this, and Hikuleo. Fantasma's been kind of back and forth between both countries through the whole thing. And here's one, the 6th member, Scott Norton.
Yeah, I saw that.
I did not realize that. I have not been following it closely enough. But going up against the United Empire, so we got Hanara, Great O'Khan, Cobb, Fletcher Davis, and TJP.
Yep, that is going to be awesome. Which, by the way, I'm a pretty big Scott Norton dude. That dude owns. He was awesome.
Well,
very underrated.
You will get him. And then we've got a.
Well, I don't know. I don't know now. I don't know if current Scott Norton's going to move the needle as much as he did in the past.
You'll get a Chicago street fight. Kind of a weird pairing. Brody King and Finn Juice.
Yep.
And knowing that Juice is almost done with New Japan in 2 weeks, he's done period with them.
Really? He said that?
As of April 30th, that will be his last day with New Japan. And it sounds, he was on Wrestling Observer today. It sounds like he's pretty burnout with wrestling in general. I don't think we're going to see Juice wrestle for a while now.
And you know what? I can tell.
Yeah.
I feel like just for years he's been going through the motions. Do you remember that one G1? It was like pre-pandemic and it was just brutal.
The general theory going about is after he kind of lost that big match to Cody, it's been kind of all downhill since there. And there's something to that.
I think that's fair.
Because he spent so much time in the dojo, got himself huge over, and then just had to put Cody over right away coming in.
I think it's the fact that where is he gonna go in New Japan? Like maybe win the IC or like one of the undercard titles. He's never gonna be in the main event.
No,
ever.
No. So
ever. Scott Norton, he is not.
He's pretty burnt out. But Finn Juice and Brody King are taking on TMDK, Joda and Shane Haste, and Bad Dude Tito.
Dude, I love TMDK. And the fact that we're getting Shane and Jonah and not Shane and Mikey Nichols. Like Mikey Nichols, his last run in New Japan was brutal. And I'd like to see, I think that would be a cool trio to have, them and Jonah, but it's like, dude, I am TMDK. Like I got the shirt upstairs and everything. I own very few wrestling shirts. I'm down with the Mighty Don't Kneel.
All right, here is our prediction match, the US of J Open Challenge Series match. Jay White versus 3 question marks. I don't know who it's going to be. It's probably not going to be anything super surprising or special, but it'll be someone, and Jay's going to probably win.
Is Bailey on the show?
Bailey is not on this show, so it could be.
Well,
Bailey.
They just did that for New Japan.
That's the thing. They're both still working with Impact. Maybe it's going to be an Impact guy to help set up a Rebellion match. Who knows? But at any rate, Jay White has a match. We don't know who it's against.
Could be Chris Sabin again. I already beat you once.
Yeah,
going for 2.
Oh,
I don't know, but
God, I watched that. That was a botch. Jay was not supposed to lose that match.
Shibata. It's going to be Shibata.
Oh my God. Could you imagine?
Could I imagine Shibata having a legit match against Jay White? Yeah, I could. And that would be the coolest match ever.
I mean, maybe it will be Sabin so they can rectify that situation.
Get his win back.
You can see it. Even Sabin and Shelley were like, what do we do? And they just figured, like, all right, I guess we'll do the belt motion. Like we didn't pin him. Like what just happened? But it is what it is. Jay White's got to get something going. That was the first time he's pinned in a long time. Ishii against Suzuki. I mean, we've seen that match a million times. It will be what it always is.
It could be awesome. I think this is the end of Suzuki's American tour.
This should be coming up right to the end of it. Yeah, I think he might have a couple more dates booked after this.
Okay.
But I don't know how long he has to get back to Japan before his next big thing.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm really burnt out on Suzuki matches. Even if they go through the motions, Ishii is one of those guys. He's gonna bring out the best, and those guys have total respect for each other.
Oh yeah,
they're not gonna phone it in by any means.
And then our main event, Moxley and Ospreay.
Dude, how can you do a clean finish here?
I don't know that you do.
Which that kind of like hampers the excitement. Right?
Absolutely, it does.
Because you can't have Moxley just win clean because he's not really a main event dude in New Japan. I mean, unless they're just going to strap the rocket to his back
he's
going to win the butterfly title.
We've got Moxley, we've got Danielson, we've got Utes. Utes is technically on a New Japan Strong match this week with Chaos because it's already been taped and they're not quite up to the time.
Dude, him and Rocky as a tag team is like that.
Absolutely, that's the match. That's the match. It's him and Rocky.
That's a winner.
Clearly he's not going to be in Chaos anymore. Danielson was pretty open to wanting to work New Japan. Does this lead to those 3 heading over post Double or Nothing to work the G1? Black Hole Combat Club representing in the G1.
What are the dates for G1? That's in June, right?
June, July, something like that. Yeah, they've announced the dates, but I can't remember. Like they're busy securing visas. Like maybe that's where this angle goes. Maybe it's setting up for them to all head to the G1.
Oh, so you're saying Danielson's the surprise for Jay White?
And I'm not saying that.
White
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying maybe the screwy finish.
No, I know.
The way they don't put it over clean with Ospreay and Mox.
Although
they could end up in the G1 together with Danielson and Utes.
Yuta Jay White would be a really good match to do on the show.
Yuta Jay White would actually be a great match to do on this
show.
That would be an awesome pick.
But then again, I don't know if Tony Khan would want Yuta losing that match.
Fair, yeah. I mean, it's hard to say. I don't know where it's going, but those are some options. But yeah, Moxley, Ospreay's the main event. We have also got a West Coast Pro show coming up this weekend. It is called Game Related. There are a few interesting matches on this card. Still don't know how I feel about it as a promotion as a whole. Finishing up the Suzuki match.
I mean, we'll find out.
We've got him and Blackwood. We've got Mike Bailey and Tits Alexander. We've got Masha Slamovich against, wait for it, don't hold your breath, Debbie Malenko, making her return after 90s All Japan and fading away.
She did something recently, didn't she?
She has just started to do stuff recently. I haven't seen any of it yet, but yeah, about 3 or 4 months ago, it was announced that Debbie Malenko was making her comeback run. We've got Blue Thunder, Nagata against Davey Richards, and Jacob Fatu against Bandito. So on paper, there's some interesting matches there. And that mostly wraps up the weekend. I think there was there one more show? Oh yeah, Revolver, Swerve's House. So there's that show coming up on Sunday.
Potentially. That's a weird card.
Again, it's a really weird card. There's a couple interesting things on there, but it's a weird card. I think it's going to be one to see what the feedback turns out like, if it's worth. And even if we know it's streaming on Fight, but I don't know if it's any other capacities.
I don't know if either one of us is going to spring for it.
That's the thing. I don't think, unless it's like if it's an $8 or $9 show, I'll spring to check it out. But anything more than that, and I'm waiting to see if it's showing up on a streaming service, which I don't know if it is. But
yeah,
it is happening. There's a couple things with potential on there. If I hear good feedback, I could see it falling into my to check out pile. So
yeah, and well, speaking of which, so WrestleMania weekend, IWTV was just like totally not present.
Yeah.
And then I think it was either this morning or last night, they uploaded a bunch of stuff. So there was PWX, which runs out of North Carolina.
Runs out of where?
I don't want to blow out the microphone. I've got like a sleeping wife upstairs. I don't want to. But yeah, so 16-person tournament. Let's go. Wrestling tournaments are awesome. And this one features our boy Wheeler Yuta. It's got Effie, ACH, Lince Dorado, Anthony Henry, Jordan Oliver. Like there's some dudes in this tournament. So there's 2 nights of that. Speaking of WrestleMania weekend, New Texas Pro ran Cowboys from Hell. It's got Violence is Forever versus Fly Def. Those are teams that we're both really high on. It's got ASF versus Chris Bay. ASF is going to be one of the top prospects moving forward, especially down there. Mysterious Q, for those who aren't in the know, it's basically Brian Keith and Mysterious Q are like the best wrestlers in New Texas Pro besides Fly Def. And Brian Keith is defending his championship against Josh Alexander. Dude. Early contender
for that one. Yeah, I'm really excited for that one.
And then a promotion that runs in St. Louis, Anarchy, they're a mixed bag. That one's ran by Matt Jackson, not that Matt Jackson. And there's some interesting stuff on here. ACH made the trip. Grindhouse, the Davey Vega, Matt Fitchett team go up against Davey Richards and Warhorse. Has to be a Billy Starks match, so there's that. Jeremy Wyatt's in here. I like him. And then the main event, there's been an ongoing story with Gary J. He's good. He's a pretty skilled wrestler. Defends his title against Anthony Henry in the main event. So Anthony Henry's going to get some run. So yeah, there's going to be a bunch of stuff that we'll end up watching. I don't know what next week's show will look like, but there's some stuff out there to watch.
I think that covers most of it. Yeah, we're good to go.
Rad. So that's it. Thank you guys so much for listening. Until next time, I'm Jake.
I'm Mitch.
This is the Bingo Hall Boys podcast.